The scenes you're about to witness are an audio podcast being recorded with cameras. Hi, John.
Hi.
How's it going, man?
Great.
You ready to record a podcast for people to listen on their iPods?
I'm ready as long as my name has been changed to protect my identity. Because I'm innocent, darn it.
Dun, dun.
Well, there's a reference that no one in the audience is going to get.
I think you, me, maybe Jenny.
Yeah.
Probably the only ones.
Yep.
Right. Well, let's do a show then. What do you think? All right,
yeah.
Here we go.
A minuscule portion of the Daily Tech News Show was brought to you by me. Because I went to patreon.com/acedetect and donated $1 a month to a podcast that I really enjoy. Won't you join me?
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, John Strickland, host of Forward Thinking and co-host of Tech Stuff, writer for How Stuff Works. How's it going, John?
Hola, Senor Merritt. Es bueno. How are you?
I soy bueno. Also, oh, see? No, wait, that's French. Anyway, yeah, I have not properly celebrated Cinco de Mayo. I have not had tacos nor margaritas, but I will fix that by the end of the day. You?
I had a delicious burrito for lunch. It was chicken and broccoli, actually.
Delicioso. Mm-hmm. Chicken and broccoli. Wait, the broccoli just sunk in there at the last second.
Bell Street Burritos in Atlanta.
All right. Sounds good. Well, let's not get people too hungry. Let's get right to the headlines, shall we? Not the opening of the show, the headlines. There we go. CNET reports Apple and Samsung have finally reached the end of one of their patent battles. A jury handed down a verdict Friday in San Jose, California, ordering Samsung to pay Apple $119.6 million and ordering Apple to pay Samsung $158,400. Apple had asked for $2.2 billion, so they didn't get close to what they asked for, and Samsung didn't either, obviously. $6.2 million is what Samsung was asking for. Apple's lawyers disputed one of the damages figures, so the jury deliberated again on Monday morning. They went through all the patents, they reevaluated, and they said, okay, we're going to give you more for one of these and less for another for a total of $119.6 million, exactly the same total they announced on Friday. Some suspect that might not even cover Apple's court costs. CNET reports Amazon and Twitter have teamed up to make it easier to shop. Starting today, Twitter users can link their account to Amazon. Once that's done, products can be added to an Amazon shopping cart by responding to any tweet with an Amazon link and using the hashtag Amazon Cart, or if you're in the UK, Amazon Basket. No word on the terms of the deal, though Amazon did say Twitter is not getting a cut of each purchase.
Yeah, this is terrifying to me, Tom. I mean, first of all, I'm a terrible impulse shopper. And second, does this mean my Twitter feed's going to be absolutely flooded with people buying stuff?
Good thing that mute button's coming, right?
No
I mean, does it make you feel better that it just goes in the cart? Like, you don't actually purchase it with the hashtag. It just puts it in your Amazon cart. You have to go to Amazon later and buy it.
Yeah, no, that's a responsible approach to this. I do appreciate that.
And yeah, hashtag Amazon cart. A lot of people may not want the world to know what they're buying. I don't know.
I will say I do have a morbid curiosity about what some of the people I follow, what their shopping habits are. I just don't know that I ever want that curiosity satisfied.
It's time to do a search, man. That's going to be hilarious. Reuters notes that over the past year, Apple has hired a half dozen prominent experts in biomedicine, VPs of products, CTOs of company. The latest one moved over to Apple just 2 weeks ago. Apple is reportedly recruiting other medical professionals as well. Much of the hiring is around sensor technology, so most people suspect this is related to some sort of wearable device. Apple has trademarked the name iWatch in Japan, although apparently Swatch is not too happy with that name being taken by Apple because they want to use it. TechCrunch reports Oculus responded to allegations by ZeniMax that John Carmack violated his non-disclosure agreement after he left ZeniMax-owned id Software, which he founded, by the way, to go work for Oculus on virtual reality technology. Oculus repeated Carmack's claim that ZeniMax shelved their own VR projects, which led to Carmack's departure. Oculus stressed ZeniMax never contributed any IP or technology to Oculus products.
Yeah, in fact, Oculus went further and said that this entire allegation only came to light after the Facebook deal. and that perhaps the timing has something to do with it. So it's a pretty interesting and somewhat ugly argument that's going on right now.
ZeniMax is shocked that there's virtual reality going on at Oculus. They had no idea.
Yes.
This establishment will be shut down until further notice. GigaOM reports EvLeaks has pictures of a smaller version of the HTC One M8 called the One Mini 2. The Mini 2 does not look like it has a second sensor. That's the one that measures depth in photo taking. It also has only one LED flash. Otherwise, if the leaked picture is accurate, and EvLeaks has a pretty good track record with this stuff, then the Mini 2 looks just like the M8, only smaller and therefore cuter. Is there neoteny in cell phones, John?
You know, it all depends on whether or not the cell phone has eyes, because
It's got big lenses.
The big eyes, that's what, yeah. When you see that, that's when your heart just melts.
Okay, good.
I like that you use the term neoteny.
I know you like that term, so
Yeah.
I threw that out there just for you. Time for some news from you. These are things submitted by our readers on the subreddit at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Our top story on the subreddit today was submitted by MikePKennedy, and Gadget reports teams competing from Harvard, Cambridge, and the University of California were pumping blood from young mice into older ones, leading the elderly mice to develop more blood vessels in the brain, demonstrating clearer thinking and faster running. Harvard researchers subsequently isolated a protein called GDF11, which helped both the operation of hearts and brains. Before you steal your younger friends' or family members' blood, remember you're not a mouse.
Yeah, there's actually some really cool and Frankenstein-like elements to this story. First of all, the way that they pump blood from young mice to old mice is through a process called parabiosis. Parabiosis is when you cut open the young mouse and you cut open the old mouse and you physically interconnect the circulatory systems. So they're sharing a single circulatory system. They're essentially two mice stitched together, okay? Don't look for images on the internet. You will never sleep again. However, that is proven, at least in some studies with a particular strain of mice, to have this kind of rejuvenating effect. So a lot of people are jumping on this is the way to defeat aging. But like you said, Tom, these are mice. Not only is it mice, it's a particular strain of mice that tend to be inbred for scientific purposes. So they don't know what would happen with a genetically diverse population of mice, let alone human beings. However, that being said, there are people leaping ahead trying to figure out how to do this sort of test on people, which you just need to look at the history books. Elizabeth Bathory, come on. She was doing it way back when.
Madame Bathory took baths, no pun intended, in blood of virgins.
Allegedly.
Well, I've seen videos of Veronica Belmont being dumped in a sack in an actual recreation of Madame Bathory.
If it's on the internet,
it must
has
be
to
true.
Be true.
spsheridan posted the next web article about John McAfee launching a secure messaging app called Chatter with D's. Chadder, produced by McAfee's Future Tense Private Systems. The app aims to be like Wicker and other messaging systems that already exist, where it encrypts messages, so presumably only the recipient would be able to read them. Chatter is in beta, but it is available for Android and Windows Phone.
Yeah, PC World wrote up a piece about this that I thought was really interesting. They talked about how even for a beta, it's particularly difficult to use and clunky. The person who wrote it, Jared Newman, said that when he was working on it, he was trying to use a fellow journalist's identity, trying to link up, and you get a 4-digit PIN that you're supposed to use in order to have this encryption key so that everything is encrypted, and said that despite both of them were supposed to be available on this network and their identities were public, that he could not locate the other person to actually test it out. So he said that
super secure.
Yeah, it's so secure you'll never ever communicate. So therefore, no one can listen in. But yeah, it was just one of those things where there's some technical difficulties early on, and also they're not entirely sure exactly how much involvement McAfee himself has had in this. It may be one of those things where
slapping his name on it.
Yeah, I mean he's really busy being an international fugitive. So
Is he still technically a fugitive? I thought they resolved that, but
they may have. I don't know. I can't keep up with the. I mean, there's so much drama.
He's a reality show just on his own.
He's a roller coaster in human form.
Yeah. cincyhuffster pointed out the GigaOM report on Mozilla's effort to help the FCC fix the net neutrality problem, finally. One solution has been to reclassify ISPs as telecommunications providers. That's often referred to as Title II classification. You've heard us talk about that. That idea is pretty much considered to be politically impossible. ISPs were classified as information providers in the early 2000s in the U.S., partly at the time because they hosted a lot of email and storage, at least back then. Now, a lot of people don't use ISPs for their email anymore. So Mozilla's clever plan is to leave ISPs as information providers when managing their own systems and dealing with their own customers, but classify any inbound traffic from content providers as telecommunications. This is very Solomonic. In other words, they want to split the regulatory regime in two. Mozilla hopes to influence the notice for proposed rulemaking that the FCC will deliver on May 15th. If you had to put your chances on FCC like countenancing Mozilla's idea, how close to zero would you put it, John?
Ooh, I'll put it to 15%. I would love to say higher because I love this idea. Like you pointed out,
clever. It's very clever.
To get around that political problem. Okay, so we have this history in the United States where we have this era of invention where people come up with brilliant ideas and they ramp up really, really fast. And then eventually we realize that if we don't put regulations in, then we end up suffering because we've become too dependent upon that utility, whatever it might be. It could be electricity, telephones, whatever. We've learned this lesson multiple times, or at least we've had this lesson taught to us multiple times.
Learning and having it taught are two different things, yes.
Yeah. We never seem to pick up on the idea that maybe we need to have these regulations in early. The implication is that regulations somehow stifle innovation and that they stifle the ability for a business to actually do business. I don't know that you can point to any examples of that because as far as I know, in all of these kind of realms, we've gone the opposite way where we're like, let's not put regulations on this and just let it go crazy. It goes crazy to the point where it becomes institutionalized. And then we say, all right, now we put in regulations when it's going to be incredibly painful and politically messy to do so. And I would love to have had avoided this with the internet. Clearly that did not happen. This is a really interesting approach. I just don't know if anyone's going to say, yes, this is the simplest thing to do. Let's split this into two different types of industry by saying the thing you do over here counts as this and the thing you do over here counts as that. That seems pretty complicated to me.
If the real problem were ISPs legitimately concerned that telecommunications classification would ruin their ability to provide email to their customers, then this would be the solution to it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the issue here. I don't think that's the issue at all.
Not at all.
And the political will is against any kind of regulation, so I don't think this is going to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, if it did, that'd be really cool. But I mean, frankly, the FCC's ability to actually come in with any authority on this issue has been a problem since the beginning, mainly because of that classification of the internet service providers being information services. I mean, that's the real nut of the problem right there, is that particular definition really limits what the FCC can do.
Techie Noob and Mr. Anthropology both submitted reports of Target's CEO resigning in the wake of Target's data breach, although we don't know if that's exactly why he's resigning. The Verge reports Greg Steinhoffel will step down as CEO, president, and chairman of the company and give up his seat on the board of directors. Chief Financial Officer John Mulligan is expected to take over as president until a successor can be found. Target's former head of technology, Beth Jacob, resigned back in March. And finally, spsheridan submitted the GigaOM report on a blog post from Internet Transit Provider Level 3, accusing 5 U.S. internet service providers and 1 European ISP of using market powers to interfere with traffic flow. Level 3 says it has saturated ports with 12 of the 51 different entities that it peers with. Peering is, I'll let you take my traffic, you take ours, and we'll either call it even or maybe we'll have a slight charge. In most of the cases, it's free. 6 of the 12 peers that are congested are in the process of cooperating with Level 3 on upgrades to alleviate that congestion. That's the normal way this has been done in the past. The other 6, according to Level 3, are doing nothing, and Level 3 says they also just happen to be networks with dominant or exclusive market share in their local market. So they're trying to make the point, hey, If you got monopoly ISPs, they're abusing their market power. And ain't that an antitrust thing, somebody? Of course, doing it in a blog post is different than doing it to the SEC or the FTC or the FCC. So they're trying to win some public opinion over, but it is a very interesting report. More transparency, like naming names, which they didn't do, would lead to a more robust debate, one would think.
Yeah, there's already been quite a bit of speculation as to which names would be named, since they are named as major, yeah, major carriers. It pretty puts a big limitation on what those names could be in the United States, because anyone in the U.S. knows the ISPs are it's a pretty sewn up business. There aren't that many major ISPs in the U.S. There's some
not in the United States,
smaller
yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Competition, man. Competition. That's a look at the headlines. Hey, if you want to learn a little bit about the history of technology, I've been working on something with Scott Johnson for about a half a year now. Monthly looks at what happened in tech history in each month. So we just put out the May one. It goes May 1st through May 31st. Each day, 3 or 4 items that happened on that day in tech history, gives you a little description of them. And then Scott Johnson has been illustrating them. They're 99 cents Kindle singles. Just go to Amazon.com and search, or check out TomMerrittBooks.com if you're interested. We hope you like them. Check them out, TomMerrittBooks.com. All right. John has been working on a bunch of interesting stuff over at Forward Thinking. And one of the things you were working on, you were telling me about, was this idea of solar wind energy, which now, according to phys.org, is actually getting built.
Yeah, this is a super interesting idea. So one of the big challenges of creating a renewable energy infrastructure is that you're dependent upon whatever that renewable energy is. And sometimes it's not available. So for example, if you're harvesting wind with wind turbines, you need to put those turbines someplace that gets a lot of wind. And when it's not windy, you're not making energy. But that doesn't mean that we don't need that energy, so what do? This company was looking at using physics to make wind, and not in the way that you're thinking.
Everyone just stop thinking about that.
No, we're talking manufacturing wind, not passing wind. So in this case, we're talking about building an enormous tower that's essentially a hollow cylinder, and doing so out in a very hot, dry area. So in this case, it happens to be in Arizona near the border with Mexico. So very hot, very dry. This tower stretches up into the sky. At the top of that tower, the air is really, really hot, really, really dry, and what they do is they inject water into the air at the top of the tower. Now, the hot air evaporates the water, which makes the air get heavier and denser as it does so, and cooler. And so it starts to sink, and as it begins to sink in the tower, it starts picking up speed until by the time it hits the base of the tower on the inside, it's moving at about 50 miles per hour. Ringing the bottom of this tower are wind turbines. So the air rushes down the cylinder and goes through the turbines, turning them and thus generating the electricity. So as long as you have a steady supply of water, and as long as it's hot and dry, you're going to be able to create the wind that is necessary to turn the turbines to generate the electricity. So in this case, the company that had proposed it, they're going to build this tower or in Arizona. They've made a deal with the local city to provide the water to the tower that'll be necessary. They're going to recycle and reuse as much water as they possibly can. And they negotiated some sort of undisclosed deal for how much that water is going to cost them over the course of, I think, 50 years. So they're thinking ahead with this. And it's a really incredible approach to generating renewable energy. The caveats I would give is that, one, you really can only build these things out where it's really hot and dry. So Alaska is kind of off limits. It's not going to work everywhere. Two, even if you do build it someplace that's hot and dry, you have to figure out how to get the water there. So that's another challenge to overcome. And if you are spending more energy getting water to the site than you are generating through this process, then you're on a losing proposition, and it's not a good bet. But it's a really interesting approach to a problem. And for some communities, this could be an incredible source of energy.
I think one of the things that people think about when they first hear this is, oh, well, if they're evaporating water, it's just going to be wasteful of water. But the water actually does descend. That's part of the way this works, is that as the dry air absorbs the water, it falls, creating the wind. And so they're able to recapture quite a bit of the water, right?
Sure, yeah. They're not going to capture all of it, obviously, but they are going to capture a good deal of it and, again, recycle that into the system. So It could be, depending upon your views, seen as I don't know if you want to call it a waste, but perhaps a poor use of water, especially depending on whether or not the area itself is suffering from drought conditions or otherwise.
Yeah, and the best place to put it is somewhere liable to have drought conditions, right? Because you want it as hot as possible.
Now, if you can get seawater, then you're in good shape.
That's corrosive, though.
Right, you would have to build your structure out of stuff that could resist corrosion. So,
and I do think it's kind of elegant to think, you know, a lot of times we have brownouts in hot weather because everybody's running their air conditioners, mostly is the reason. And if you had this kind of situation, then you'd have more energy being produced when it's hot, and therefore feeding that demand. So, I mean, they're talking 435 megawatt hours average over the course of the year, but in the hottest parts of the year, they're above 1,000.
Yeah. And again, it all depends on where they can build the tower. What's interesting to me is that this is going to be the first instance in the United States anyway of a tower like this being built, and we will be able to see if this is actually a viable option for other places or if it just ends up being a curiosity. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I would love to see this work in relation. I'd like to see it work like with other renewable energy approaches as well. I mean, I'm a firm believer of don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially when it comes to energy. But I think anything that is a viable option, we should certainly explore.
Well, it was cool that you did this on Forward Thinking, and now it's actually turning into a real thing. I mean, they're building one. SWET, the name of the company, which stands for Solar Wind Energy Tower, is wanting to license the technology to other people to build, but they're building this to show like it can be done. So it's pretty exciting to see it happen. There's a GigaOhms article today about this one in particular, but also 4 other kind of out there energy ideas like space-based solar, air batteries, even nuclear fusion that are getting closer in various ways. But it seems like this one's the farthest along. Yeah,
this one, well, I mean, when you get to something like fusion, we've been working on that for more than a decade, and we're just getting to the point now where we're seeing some experiments where we're getting more energy out than it took to put into it, and it's not efficient enough to use. But yes, as far as ones that have at least the most grounded basis in physics and our ability to exploit them, this is probably the closest. I personally hope that they license out one of their towers to CNC Music Factory, since their name is Sweat, and then you can just call it the Gonna Make You Sweat Solar Wind Energy Tower.
They at least should hire them for the marketing campaign, if nothing else.
Yes. I mean, what else have they been doing? So I'm sure they're available.
I mean, I'm thinking they might want the work. I'm not saying that they're on hard times necessarily, but, you know.
Yeah. When your last #1 hit was 1991.
It's worth a call just to find out. Hey, let's look at what's on the calendar. Startups, man your battle stations. Because if you watched the Silicon Valley show on HBO, you heard references to TechCrunch Disrupt happening. How cool, did they do that on purpose? I don't know. But May 5th through May 7th, TechCrunch Disrupt New York brings you their famous startup battlefield competition, which in addition to being a way to get your startup noticed, is now the plot point of Mike Judge's HBO comedy Silicon Valley. So check it out. Tuesday, May 6th, there is a scheduled Chrome OS event in San Francisco hosted by Google and Intel, so expect maybe some hardware there. And no Tuesday would be complete without another conference. This time it's Concur, a company that specializes in helping other companies with travel and expense solutions. If you're traveling to New Orleans for their annual Fusion conference, that'll be perfect for you. So a company designed to help people spend less on travel, having a big conference in the Big Easy. The expense reports on this one are going to be very interesting to read. Finally, on Tuesday, we'll hear about Q1 earnings for Groupon and Electronic Arts. Our pick of the day comes from Video Size Guy. Fascinated Video Size Guy has got a pick for the show that will solve the confusion for YouTube video downloads. Remember, unless you are the creator of a YouTube video and you can get it through the dashboard, you can't really download YouTube videos. His pick is Video Download Helper. It's a free add-on for Firefox. Gives you the ability to download any video on YouTube and any other video site. But wait, there's more. YouTube always stores multiple versions of videos, so YouTube and its users can adjust the quality to best match their connection speeds and needs. Video Download Helper adds a button that lets you choose which version of the YouTube video you want to download. He says, I've used VDH for many years and can recommend it highly to anyone looking to download YouTube videos, especially people who produce daily tech news shows. There's a campaign to get the video download size reduced. And I think this is being suggested as a way to do that, which is a really good suggestion, actually. So check it out. Video Download Helper, and we'll have a link to it in the show notes as well. dailytechnewsshow.com/picks for all the picks. Our messages of the day. Our emails. Ryan writes in that he thinks we share similar computer views because of the path from Windows 3.1 through Windows, Linux, and OS 10. But he says, I appear to have a case of MagSafe dysphagia. I currently use a MacBook Pro 2012 non-Retina and feel tired of the constant degradation of my MagSafe adapter, resulting in yet another $80 for a new adapter. Do you know of an alternate product that is safe to prevent this madness from happening again and again, or a solution that you use yourself? I truly wish Apple made the MagSafe removable like the extension cable. John, have you run into this? I haven't had a problem with any of my MagSafes.
No, I haven't had an issue with this either. So this is totally new to me. It's a perplexing problem. I'd have to look into this one.
Well, the one thing I can tell you, Ryan, is that Apple does provide a power adapter replacement program eligible to customers in the United States only, but I think you're in the U.S., so it should work for you. Apple may provide customers a replacement adapter if the power adapter shows signs of strain relief, a condition where the DC cable, that's the thin cord that attaches the MagSafe connector, separates from the end of the MagSafe connector or from the other end of the thin cord. So I'll put that link in the show notes as well, but you might want to check that out because it shouldn't be fraying like that. And you shouldn't have to spend $80 to get a new one every time. Might even just walk into the Apple store and show it to them and say, hey, this shouldn't be doing this. Can I swap it out? Hope that helps, Ryan. Kyle in Jacksonville writes, hey, Tom, in reference to Friday's show, you and Darren were talking about corporations tipping off their customers when agencies ask for information by subpoena. Granted, I am no lawyer, just your average officer, but I may be able to give a little insight. The situation you guys talked about on the show is if the company is issued a subpoena for information. A subpoena has less of a standard than an actual search warrant, which is signed by a judge. It has been my experience, and also what I've been told from other agencies, that subpoenas for information are no longer as effective as they used to be and are not as widely used in this situation. I've heard through contacts that companies are getting thousands of search warrant requests per day, and anything other than a search warrant, for instance, a subpoena, are basically ignored due to the massive volume of requests. Also, it is pretty standard practice to include on the warrant for the company not to notify the customer of the warrant. While I am against blanket mass surveillance, my guess is that most of these requests would be for individual investigations where there is probable cause and not just mass orders for data. That's part of getting a warrant. You need probable cause. Makes sense to me. Hope this helps. Hey, thanks, Kyle. That explains that these Google, Facebook, Microsoft policy changes to say not gonna respond to a subpoena without telling them may not really have that much of an effect. It might be kind of easy for these companies to do if they're ignoring a bunch of subpoenas anyway. And finally, Tad Robbins says, with the amount of time we have been spending on the net neutrality issue, you should rename your show Daily Net Neutrality News Show. It's not a bad point. Seriously, using the analogy of the high-speed lane versus the old deteriorated lane for the non-prioritized traffic, wouldn't they have to maintain the old stuff so they can get the prioritized traffic everywhere? If they have to get the prioritized traffic to my house, wouldn't the pipes to my house have to be maintained to a level that would allow the traffic to get through? Also, from a business standpoint, the vast majority of traffic will probably not be prioritized. Forsaking that volume for a limited higher profit is usually not a winning proposition. I wish it worked that way, Tad, because then that would solve everything. But as John knows, you've delved into this net neutrality issue, I'm sure.
Yeah. So there are multiple issues here. It's not just the pipeline that goes into your house. You're also talking about from the content providers to the backbone of the internet itself. So you can slow things down anywhere along this pathway if you put in the right controls. And if the controls are on the content to ISP side, then it doesn't, they could easily have a prioritized traffic lane for you, regular old traffic for everything else. This is one of those things that is easily implementable. And if there were some more competition in the marketplace, which I'm sure, Tom, that you've talked about this a billion times, but if there were more competition where a provider could say, hey, we don't do that. You're going to get this content just as quickly as this other content. We're not prioritizing anything. No one gets special treatment. If that were such a thing and people had the choice to switch over to that provider, then I would be much more optimistic about this. But the truth is, most people, they have access to a single provider, particularly if you live someplace like in an apartment complex that has a specific deal with a specific company. But even otherwise, you may not have the luxury of choice. So you're stuck with whatever that company's policy is, and you don't really have an option to get away from that. I did a similar thing. Like, I had issues with my old ISP, and so I chose the dramatic approach of switching to 4G coverage because that's how bad things got for me. And I did that for 2 years, and it was not a pleasant experience, but it was better than what I had been experiencing. And now I'm back on that same ISP, but things so far have been much better, mostly because I'm in a different neighborhood now. Mm-hmm. But I'm completely stuck with whatever they choose because there's not really an option for me to go somewhere else.
And I think what Tad's getting fooled by is this metaphor of pipes. Metal Freak is shouting in the chat room, "It's not a pipe. It's not like
it's a series of tubes."
That's right. It really kind of is in this case, right? I mean, it's a series of connections, and they could all be going through the same Ethernet cable. It's not like, ooh, we need a better Ethernet cable. This one's getting frayed like that MagSafe adapter. It's not like that. What it is they don't have enough ports for the congestion. A lot of times, that's where it happens with the transit providers. They just need to add more capacity. But what they can do to alleviate that for the paying customer, the content provider, is say, in the software, look for the packets from Netflix and pass those along first so that you have less packet loss from them. Or do what Comcast and Netflix did and have an entirely different path for those packets to get into your network that won't hit that congested router, that congested switch, and bypass the problem altogether. So unfortunately, no, trying to maintain the pipes to be good for the prioritized content won't help necessarily the other ones.
I mean, if you want to think, you can think of it more like, I don't even know if this is going to help, but you can think of it more like doorways. So one doorway could be specifically for a couple of content providers. The other doorway is for everyone else, and you get that Three Stooges thing where they all try to go through the door at the same time, and their shoulders are stuck.
It's a club. It's a doorway at a club.
Okay.
And Netflix is on the list. They get to walk past everybody and waltz right into the club if they're prioritized. Well, everybody else is just getting, moved in slowly.
Right. And just like a club, you get in faster if you bribe the bouncer.
Right. But making the door better doesn't help anybody.
Right.
I hope we haven't confused Tad more than it helps, but hopefully that makes it a little more understandable. Hey, John Strickland, man, you guys can tell, like, this guy knows how stuff works, literally. It's part of his job, mostly of his job. Twitter.com/John Strickland to find out what he's up to. Anything else going on with Forward Thinking or anything else you want to tell folks about?
Oh gosh, Forward Thinking is my show about the future. It's an optimistic view of what is possible in the future. So if you are into that kind of thing, like transhumanism, artificial intelligence, energy concerns, all of that kind of stuff we cover on Forward Thinking, fwthinking.com. It's probably the thing that I'm enjoying the most about my job right now, and I love everything about my job. So
that's saying something, man. That's awesome. Check it out, Forward Thinking, fwthinking.com. Thanks again, John.
Thank you.
Also, thanks to our patrons. 3,878 of you have found it necessary or at least worthwhile to back the show. 5 cents an episode is all we ask. You can give $1 a month. Head over to bit.ly/helpdtns or go to patreon.com and search Tom Merritt. Either way gets you there. We really appreciate everybody who's helped out and made the show continue to be around, to exist, and to hopefully get better as we keep working on it. Like you've turned this from something that I didn't know whether it would work or not into a job that I love. So thank you for being my boss. Appreciate it, patrons. Also, big thanks to P. Delahanty, who is a patron, who updated the BBpedia. So if you're looking for information on anything in the Diamond Club universe, not just Daily Tech News Show, but Cord Killers or Scam School or FSL Tonight, check out dctvpedia.com. It's all there in a brand new wrapper. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can also email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Call us, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And listen to the show live, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific at mobile.alphageekradio.com. The website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Allison Sheridan. See you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Ta-da!
Woohoo!
That was great. Thanks, man.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
As always. I mean, I love coming on the show, so
It was a good topic. I like having something that's not just like Apple has a rumor.
yeah, I worry whenever you invite me on, I always want to bring on some sort of weird, like, either science or future tech thing, and I don't want it to go too far outside the realm of your show. So
No, man. I mean, so far it has not. It has not been anything where I wasn't like, no, I think people are going to be interested in this. It relates to technology, but it's not the usual thing. And I love that. I really enjoy having you on partly for that reason. I mean, you're just a smart guy. We could talk about anything, but having that extra oomph behind something that you've been researching that the audience isn't going to hear about.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean, this is the stuff that really gets me excited and makes me happy to work on the show. So, yeah, I can't wait for the episode we just shot. Was a lot of fun. Our Solar Impulse 2 episode about the solar-powered airplane that's scheduled to do a around-the-world flight.
Oh yeah.
That was
cool.
that was a lot of fun to do too. So, I'm really hoping that if we get to do a third season, that maybe we'll be able to move around and visit some locations and stuff and do some more shooting. That would be my next goal.
You watching Cosmos?
Yes, of course.
Can you imagine if you got to do those location shoots that he does? Are just blow me away. I'm so jealous.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
What I want to do is I want to show Veronica's old Mahalo daily videos to my producers and say, can we maybe try something like this? She jumped out of planes. And
Yeah. And she was traveling quite a bit, but as I recall, it wasn't like, they were racking up ridiculous amounts of expense. Like, they were smart about how they did it. They batch shot them. She wasn't going that far most of the time. A lot of Seattle trips, a lot of LA, San Francisco stuff.
Right.
So, you can be strategic about it.
Yeah, and in Atlanta, we're really fortunate. I mean, we've got Georgia Tech, we've got Emory. So when we want to, and we got the CDC. Mm-hmm. So if you want to talk cutting edge technology, or you want to talk about medical science, I mean, we've got a lot of resources that are right here in town, that's really helpful. In fact,
and you're not that far from Kennedy Space Center.
No,
right?
That's true.
So
and
you
I
take a
love
trip
Kennedy.
jog down there. Yeah.
I've got I bought a year-long membership to Kennedy Space Center.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah. Because you get your little ID and it tells you that you're like a little honorary astronaut. I had to do it.
Oh my God, that's so smart. Because
Yeah.
I would be the same way. Sucker me in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I still get to the point where if I walk into one of those hangars and I see the rockets, I'm filled with awe in the traditional sense. I'm like speechless and I start tearing up because it's so phenomenal to see something that big that people built and took to outer space. And my wife's like, keep it together.
You're like, no, I can't.
No,
Sorry.
I can't. That's who I am.
Because space.
Yeah, I accepted it a long time ago, so there's no changing at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to the Endeavor thing at the California Science Museum here.
Center.
Center?
California Science Center.
Science Center. See, there's the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco, and I always get them confused in my head. California Science Center. And same thing. It's that like, wow, that was in space. Like,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's also fun whenever I run into, like, going to Dragon Con. I've run into Richard Garriott a couple of times, and I used to know him back when I was a teenager. We corresponded several times, and the last time I ran into him, I said, "Hey, man, I haven't talked to you since you were in space."
Is he different? Did he, was he changed man?
He is different. He floats everywhere now. He's
Yeah?
not at all affected by gravity. I don't
Right.
understand it, but
Well, he probably has one of those gravity reflectors that the government is hiding from us.
I do notice that whenever he's in a panel, he has to actually wear chains that hold him to concrete blocks so that he can stay on the same eye level as the other panel guests. But it's a small price to pay.
Occupational hazard, right?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Oh man. Well, I should probably get moving, but
All right, man.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. I'm just editing away, so it's great to have you, but you don't have to stay around.
No, I would stay around, except I have to prep because my wife and I are going to Ireland next week, so I've got to
really?
get. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Wow.
My first trip to Ireland, I've never been before. So we're actually going with another couple. It's a couple who live out in San Francisco. They moved out there because the husband in the couple works for Google.
Oh, okay.
And so we're all going to go on a trip, and I'm going to get him drunk on Guinness and spill company secrets that he shouldn't be talking about to me.
Nice.
All right,
But-
how long is the trip?
It's a week-long trip, and we are being insanely ambitious. The trip,
Wow.
we're flying into Dublin. We're driving up to Belfast. We're going to the Giant's Causeway, down to Limerick, off to the Cliffs of Moher, down to Cork, back up to Dublin.
Gosh.
Yeah, essentially we're seeing all of Ireland with
East
the
Coast.
with the exception.
You're not seeing the West Coast.
Well, Cliffs of Moher on the West Coast.
Okay.
Right.
But we're not getting down to the Ring of Kerry. That's the one spot we're missing.
You're not going down to Dingle.
No, but I hope that on a subsequent visit we'll be able to do the Ring of Kerry. But
Galway and the Aran Islands, which are
Yeah.
some of the most spectacular things I've ever seen in my entire life.
yeah, it's just one of those things that if we had been able to do a 2-week trip, then we would have built even more
Sure.
in. But it's going to be a lot of us in the car waiting for sheep to cross the road. It's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot
That's
of
so
that.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the experience. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a week, and we did the other thing. We went to Cork and then drove Dingle Peninsula, Galway, Dublin, and back down. So it's like you can only do like 3/4 of the island in a week.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even doing it like that, you're going to be a little rushed. We are spending a night in a castle. That was one of the prerequisites for our trip.
Nice.
The wife of the other couple, she's worked with me and with my wife at the Georgia Renaissance Festival. So really, you should probably send your best thoughts to the husband because he's going to endure unbelievable geekgasms as we go around
I'm sure.
Ireland. And we're like, this is the place we talk about all the time. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool, man. Have a good time.
Thanks. Yeah, and keep me on the address list.
Absolutely. No
All right.
doubt about that.
Well, if you see any abandoned tech hub centers, you can file like a 1-minute report because the question right now is in Ireland, how are these hubs doing? Like Ireland was going to be like the data center hub because it was so cheap to build. They were building all these buildings, and now it seems like that's coming back. So
I heard I heard Google's
in your
European.
vacation.
Yeah, if I could only get it, reimbursed. Yeah, I hear that Google's European center is in Ireland, and also, I mean, I could go and see the birthplace of the DeLorean.
Whoa.
Those were built in Ireland.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Now, granted, you're not going to find a DeLorean there anymore. They're all being built out of Texas now, but that's where the DeLorean company, although it's started by a different guy, but has the DeLorean company name.
They got the trademarks and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They started just refurbishing old DeLoreans, and then they finally made the molds for all the parts, and now they can actually custom build a DeLorean for a ridiculous amount of money. So if you want a really poorly performing sports vehicle. You can
With
buy
cool
one.
doors.
Yes, the going
And
doors.
massive pop culture cred.
Yeah. Going doors are pretty awesome, though. All right, guys. For reals now.
All right, man.
I'll see you guys later.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Ireland. Oh my gosh.
Needs to come with a flux capacitor.
Yeah. I think they build those.
Not
like,
Ireland,
fake,
but
the fake capacitors that are fake fluxes.
Yeah, but that should be an option when you go to buy a DeLorean. Like, would you like it with the flux capacitor package?
Yeah. So you know what the show title is, right?
Oh yeah, I've already put it in.
That's what I figured.
A Mighty Solar Wind.
Yep.
I got it right. Okay, just making sure. Yep. That was brilliant.
Well, pop culture brain comes through every once in a while.
Oh, stop.
Come on,
Stop
Jax.
being modest.
It's okay, buddy. Jax was chasing a tequache all last night.
A what?
A possum. Tequache.
Is that Aztec? What is that?
It's what some people that we know call a possum.
Really?
A tequache. Yeah.
All right. It sounds like it should have like 2 falcon heads and. you know.
Yeah, but you know, like the thing from Office Space where the guy is in like the body cast and he's all hung up like this. That's what the dog is today because he's literally not moving. He's just stuck.
Aw.
Well, he's an old man and he was chasing. There we go. Chasing.
Like show
a
you,
possum.
I'm not old. I
Little.
can move just fine. Oh, let me sleep. Yeah, Django can't chase possums like she used to either.
It's tough. They come in our house because like we keep, they come in the house like we keep all the doors open like we're at summer camp, like all day and all the night. I shouldn't have just said that on the internet. All the doors that aren't connected to the front of the house cannot access these doors or windows.
While you're home.
We'll never
too.
do it again.
Yeah.
But the point being, all the bugs and all the wild creatures do make nighttime appearances in our house. They can't.
Uploading.
Oh, wait. Oh, no, I can't put the stuff in yet.
Not quite. Almost there. As soon as it finishes the upload. Do you guys like the show? Chat round? Yeah?
Wait for the delay. Wait for it. Oh, no. I'm getting 800 Patreon messages.
Why?
For Night Attack, there have now been 3.
Right.
That happens sometimes.
They put their phone call up, I saw.
Right.
All right. I just need to check one thing, and then I'll be done. This is good TV, let me tell you.
Hey, it's editing. I really got nothing left today.
You're exhausted.
Well, just like
You're
the
exhausted.
heat broke. Well, the heat broke, which was great. Just great. Not to complain to the rest of the country. But
Yeah.
it was a little hot here last week. And that kicked the asthma into gear again. And so, like, today's the recovery day. It's really
I'm
nice
out.
to be able to...
I'm out.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Show
It's all
notes.
good. All right, I'm going to stop the live
Yeah.
stream. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
No,
wait, I never
no.
went back. Jackie Hearn said, great discussion. Beatmaster's got the links, as usual, because he's awesome. TV's Egon has his calendar filled for nerdtacular stuff. Woo! Awesome. Could be good to see you there.
Nerd.
Good shows. Thanks for all the good shows. All right. We're back tomorrow. We'll see you then.